welcome to Superbwoman Sundays at 7. I'm your host, Janet Neal, the founder and queen bee at the Superbwoman Incorporated. I'm so glad that you've joined us. And of course, we've got another fantastic Superbwoman tonight, Marci Shimoff, who is a New York Times bestselling author. But before we get to her, let me tell you why I do this show. I want you to know people like Marci and all my other amazing guests. These women are women I've met on my path who are perfect examples of this concept of trying to get out there, of a superb woman. It's not about being a superwoman, that old cliche, that outdated mode that we all have tried to be and just results in nothing but burnout and frustration and serves no one. A superwoman's all about outside of yourself, about do, and trying to attain somebody else's goal. A superb woman takes the time to be. A superb woman takes the time to figure out what her values are, what her goals are, what are her passions, and then crafts and lives a life that celebrates and utilizes all of that. And as you can see by the women that I'm highlighting in my show, it works. These are ordinary women who are doing extraordinary things because they have tapped into who they truly are. And so join me as we learn from one more superb woman, Marci Shimoff. Hello, and welcome to Superbwoman Sundays at 7. I'm your host, Janet Neal, and I'm so glad that you are here, and so glad to have my guest, Marci Shimoff, with me. Welcome, Marci.
Thank you, Janet. It's so fabulous to be with you and on all the superb women who are here.
Absolutely. So I always tell my audience how we met because it's always a different story. So Marci and I met not long ago. I took one of her workshops, the Enlightened Author workshop out in San Francisco, and it was an amazing workshop. And I was doing a presentation at the front of the class, and you had to talk about yourself, what you do, what your book is about. And I start talking about the superb woman and that I have this show. And then I looked right at Marci and said, and I want you to be on the show. So talk about pressure. But thank you very much.
And I immediately said, yes, I want to be on your show. And so here it is. And I'm so glad you asked. That lesson in asking is always a good thing. You did great with that.
Thank you very much. Well, Marci is an amazing woman, and you're going to find that out. And the name may sound very familiar to you because Marci is a #1 New York Times best-selling author of just a couple of books. So here's one, Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul. But wait, there's more. Then there's Happy for No Reason. And then, just because we haven't had enough yet, we have Love for No Reason. And Marci, I don't even have your latest book yet. Tell everybody what your latest book is.
My latest book is called Inkspirations for Women, Color Your World Happy. It's the latest in the new craze of adult coloring books. And believe me, I never expected that I would be doing an adult coloring book or a coloring book for adults, but here it is, and I'm having a blast. I don't have a copy with me, but it's really, really a great book.
Well, you said one very important piece there, besides the coloring book, which I love, but that you never expected to be writing a coloring book. Well, it's kind of a theme in your life, isn't it? That you never expected to be where you are today.
Total theme in my life. My life has unfolded in miraculous and splendid ways that when I get out of the way, what shows up is some of the things that you've just mentioned. And I mean, things like I was in the movie The Secret. It was seen by 1 billion people. I mean, never expected that. I did some little interview with a woman named Rhonda Byrne at some meeting. I never thought anything would come of it. And a year and a half later, this movie comes out that I'm in that's, worldwide.
Yeah.
So lots of crazy, amazing things have happened.
Fabulous. So let's talk a little bit about that, Marci, because my whole premise behind the Superb Woman is to let go of that notion of being a superwoman, that you have to do it according to what they say.
Yeah.
It's all about the do. And my experience has been that women who have learned to be themselves, who have tapped into their values, their gifts, they are leading unbelievably amazing lives and putting back this fabulous energy. And you tell the story about how you were an unhappy little girl, and there's no way you could imagine yourself ever writing a book, let alone being a best-selling author. So take us on that journey. How did you go from being this unhappy little girl to where you are today?
Thank you for asking that question. And there are a few stages of the journey. So if I may, can I tell my sort of three stages?
Absolutely.
Okay. So as you said, I was an unhappy kid. I actually came out of the womb with existential angst. I was born depressed. And I was depressed throughout most of my childhood years. I had a great family. It wasn't any of that. It just was, I had a dark cloud around me. But when I was 13 years old, and every little kid wonders, what are they going to do with their life? So I knew, I felt like there's something I want to do. When I was 13, I went to go see a motivational speaker. Now, it was 1971. So for those of you who are doing quick math, that makes me 58. I'll do the math for you. And there were not very many motivational speakers out there. And the one I went to go see was a guy named Zig Ziglar.
Mhm.
And Zig was extraordinary. And I remember him walking the stage and inspiring everybody in that audience. And I said to myself when I saw that, I said, that's what I'm supposed to do with my life.
Hmm.
I saw myself traveling around the world, inspiring people. Now, I went home and I told that to my parents, and they weren't all that happy about that decision because my dad was a dentist and they wanted me to be a dental hygienist. But when I told them that I wanted to be a speaker, my mother teased with me. She said, honey, you sure talk enough. You might as well get paid for it. So I set off to create success as a motivational speaker. Now, in my early 20s, I heard about a formula for success. And it was a 3-step formula. And the 3 steps were intention, attention, and no tension. So the first step was intention. Be really clear about what you want. The second step is attention. Put your thoughts, your words, your feelings, and your actions behind it. Put your energy and life force behind it. And then the third step is no tension. Let go, relax, and let the universe meet you halfway.
Mm.
So I set off with very clear intention, which was to have a best-selling book. I'm sorry, not to have a best-selling book, to travel around the world speaking. Never was a book in the
Right.
whole arena of thought, but was to inspire people around the world. And that was my intention. I put a lot of attention on it. I got an MBA in training and development, and I started teaching seminars in corporations and seminars for individuals, especially women, on self-esteem. And I was working super, super crazy hard. And so I was very good at the attention piece. In fact, I had a mentor, Jack Canfield, who, this was well before he created the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. 5 years before he created Chicken Soup for the Soul, he became my mentor in self-esteem, in training on self-esteem. And I was traveling around the entire country teaching self-esteem training programs, working crazy, crazy hard. Well, one day and I had some level of success, but I was stuck. I was I'd hit a wall and I couldn't get to that next level of big success that I really had imagined for myself. And one day in 1994, a dear friend of mine, Janet Atwood, came to me and said, Marci, you looked terrible. And, as only dear friends can do.
Right.
And those weren't the words she used. She said, you look and she said, you need a break.
Mm.
Now, I was a hard worker and I was afraid of taking a break.
Mm.
And, I was very good at that intention piece and very good at that attention piece, but I was not at all good at that no tension piece, at letting go, at kind of relaxing. But she said, you look terrible. I'm going to take you away with me on a 7-day silent meditation retreat. At which point I said, 7 days of silence? Are you crazy? I haven't been silent for more than 2 hours in my life. I'm a speaker. I don't do silence. But she was very persuasive, and off I went with her on this 7-day silence retreat. Well, on the 4th day, in the middle of one of my meditations, a light bulb went off in my head. and I saw the words chicken soup for the woman's soul. And I said, oh my God, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what's going to bring me in front of those big audiences. I only had one problem with the scenario, and that was I still had 3 more days of silence.
Oh
I
no.
just had the great epiphany of my life, and I couldn't tell anybody. But as soon as I came out of silence, I went to the closest pay phone. This was 1994, and we didn't have cell phones.
Mhm.
And I called up Jack Canfield, my mentor, and I said, I've got it. Chicken soup for the woman's soul. And he said, oh my God, I can't believe nobody's thought of it.
Mm.
And he called up the publisher and said, chicken soup for the woman's soul. And the publisher said, oh my God, I can't believe nobody's thought of it. Because at that point, only the original Chicken Soup for the Soul book was out.
Got it.
So that was the birth of the whole rest of the Chicken Soup for the
Oh
Soul.
my goodness. Wow.
And it only came about because I was willing to let go, to do that step of no tension.
Mm.
So what I tell people is look at those 3 areas in your life: intention, attention, no tension. See which one you're weaker in and focus on that for a while, because that for me was the ticket. I needed that no tension piece.
Oh boy, that is really, really good advice. And in my coaching practice, I think you're pretty typical. Most women that I know have fallen into the same thing. And myself, I didn't go on a silent retreat, but I cleaned my attic. And I took 5 days to clean my attic. And there you go. Ideas came to me. So,
You know, I'm so glad you said that, because one of the practices that I recommend that people do is a feng shui. Feng shui is the Chinese art of placement. It's a cleanse of your environment. And when
mhm.
you cleanse your environment, amazing things happen in your life. And it's a simple cleanse. And I'm in the middle of it right now. So it's perfect that you would have
Oh,
brought that up.
wow.
I do it twice a year. And it's where you get rid of 27 items a day for 9 days. So that means you either throw away or you give away 27 items a day for 9 days in a row, because each day it builds on itself. It's like a cumulative energy that builds.
Oh, wow.
And not only do you feel better because your environment is cleansed out, but it puts you in that state of letting go emotionally as well. And so thank you for bringing that up. It's a
Yeah,
great piece. Yeah,
please,
there is a second part to this whole story. Shall I tell
please
you that
tell
piece?
us. Yes.
So I did what most people in our society do, and that was I thought that success was going to bring me happiness.
Mm,
So I was doing work that I loved, and I thought that success was going to, make me happy, because here I still had that kind of unhappiness that I carried with me as a kid.
mm,
But I had a turning point moment. My turning point moment was in June of 1998. I had 3 books in the top 5 on the bestseller list on the New York Times list. And I had just finished giving a speech to 8,000 women. I had autographed 5,432 books. My client had brought in a massage therapist to massage my hands so I could keep on signing.
uh-huh.
I felt like an author rock star. I had more success than I ever thought I would have, actually. And I remember after autographing that last book, I went up to my hotel room, which was the penthouse suite that my client had gotten for me. And I walked over to the beautiful the beautiful big windows overlooking the panoramic view of Lake Michigan. I was in Chicago.
Mm,
I took in the view, and I turned around and I fell onto the bed and I burst into tears.
mhm,
And I burst into tears because I realized I had everything I thought I needed to be happy, and I still wasn't. It didn't I still had some emptiness inside.
mm,
And that's when I got serious about studying happiness and
mm,
what it would actually take for me to be happier, and then ultimately for other people to be happier. I did all the research. I devoured the research on happiness. I interviewed hundreds of happy people, and I found that the only difference was that they did things differently than unhappy people do. They had different habits. And so I started practicing those habits of happy people, and they worked. I'd say I went from a D plus in happiness to an A in happiness.
wow.
And that was just amazing for me. And so I decided to write a book about that. And that's how Happy for No Reason came about, was about my passion to become happier. I think we teach what we most want to learn. And
Absolutely.
so that was the next phase of my journey, was to really learn that success doesn't bring happiness, but actually the happiness research shows that when we're happier, we'll have more success. So I've
Mhm.
actually been amazed to find that as I got happier, my success actually grew, rather than, you think, oh no, taking your attention away from, I didn't take it away from success. I just turned it to focusing some of my time every day on developing these happiness habits. And it actually created that deeper level of fulfillment that I was looking for.
Can you share with us one of the happiness habits?
There are 21 of them.
Mhm.
And I shared already the one about feng shui and letting go.
Okay.
Why don't I share with you two more?
Okay.
Okay. One of them is one we're going to do together. Is that okay?
I'm game.
It takes about a minute, and it's called the inner ease technique. Simple techniques that you can use anywhere, any time of the day, to shift you from what's called the stress response. We all know what that feels like. We're stressed
Mhm.
out in traffic, or, frustrated with somebody at work or at home, into what science calls the love response, which has a totally different physiology to it. And it's a really simple practice. It's going to take us a minute to do. I learned it from a group called the Institute of Heart Math. They're fabulous researchers on the heart and happiness. And Janet, I'm going to ask you to do that. We're all going to do it together. And I'm going to ask you to be my guinea pig. Is that okay?
Works for me.
Good. It's 3 simple steps. And I'm going to ask you when we're done with this if you feel any different, okay? And so it's better done with eyes closed. So if you're watching this, please do this with us. It's really boring to just watch us do this. Do this along with us. So with our eyes closed, the first step is to simply place the palm of your hand on your heart. And that simple act of putting your hand on your heart starts the flow of a chemical called oxytocin, which is dubbed the love hormone. It's what we have when we feel bonded and connected with each other. So when we when women breastfeed, they have lots of oxytocin, or when we make love, we have lots of oxytocin. But just with your hand on your heart right now, you're helping stimulate that flow of oxytocin, which is one of the happiness chemicals. Now, the second step is to imagine that you're breathing in and out through the center of your heart. So just imagine that your breath is coming into your heart and going out of your heart at your own pace, breathing into your heart, exhaling out of your heart. Now, the third step is on each inhale, imagine that you're breathing in love, ease, and compassion. Breathing in love, ease, and compassion. The exhale is just a normal exhale, as though you're breathing out of your heart. On your inhale, breathe in love, ease, and compassion. And on those inhales, you can remember a time when you felt those things, or you can just say those words internally to yourself: love, ease, compassion. One more deep breath in, breathing in love, ease, compassion into your heart. And on your next exhale, you can slowly open your eyes. And you can take your hand down from your heart. And I want everybody just now to notice, how do you feel any different right now than you did 1 minute ago? So, Janet, you're my guinea pig. How do you feel different?
I am so totally relaxed. And if we'd gone any longer, I would have been snoring. But
Yeah.
that was beautiful.
So what that does is it really puts you into a different, biochemical state. And what we found is, if you do this every day, a couple of times a day for a couple of weeks, you start to make a habit of going into the love
Mm.
response and into this state. So I do this when I'm standing in line at the grocery store. You can do it with your eyes open as well. Or I do it when I'm on the phone talking to somebody, just for a minute. And just try it, practice it, and see what happens.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So that's from the happiness book. The book here's I'll show you the book, folks. Happy for No Reason.
That's
Lots
it.
of glare on it. Great. All right. So you were this unhappy girl who then studied happiness and became an expert on happiness, and then went out and became this, not only a inspirational speaker, but then this New York Times bestseller. And you said there was another part to this story.
There is another part, and it has to do with learning lessons. When I said I'm an A in happiness, it doesn't mean I'm not still working on it. It's a continuous process. Life is
Absolutely.
an always, this is our school. Life is
Yeah,
our school.
absolutely.
And I was always one who thought that I should say yes to all opportunities that come my way. And I should say yes to everything. And I was making myself, once again, exhausted, burned out, overly busy. And about 3 years ago, I had an opportunity come my way that was a very big opportunity. It was to go teach for a couple of years, on and off, not full time, but a contract to in China, to go to China. I think it was going to be 5 times a year for a couple of years. Maybe, actually, it was 5 times over the course of 2 years. And to do these programs in China, very big programs. It was a $500,000 contract. Sounds great.
Yeah.
There was one problem. I didn't want to do it. I had been to China a couple of times. I didn't want to have to spend that much time in China, months at a time in China. And it was like, ugh. Now, the old me would have said yes, because I think I should say yes to opportunities.
Right.
But I said no. And it was a big deal. I had no idea, what would take the place of that $500,000 contract. But I, in great faith, said no. 2 days after I said no, my assistant at the time, Kim, I have a home office, and we were making lunch together. And she happened to tell me about this guy that was doing this mentoring program. He was mentoring a small handful of people privately. And like another light bulb went off in my head. I said, oh my God, that's what I'm supposed to do. I didn't know what it even meant. I just said, I'm supposed to mentor people. And I thought, what could I mentor them in? And I realized that not only was my life happy, but I was waking up every morning feeling as though my life was miraculous. Every day I felt like my life, that miracles were happening. The right people were coming to me, the right situations were happening. And I said, I'm gonna mentor people in living a miraculous life. And I set out to mentor. I decided I would mentor 8 women for a year. Now, I within a month put out an invitation to my email list, and I didn't think anybody would really. I thought maybe if 2 people respond, that would be great, because it was a very high end thing. I had 1,100 applications.
Oh my goodness!
8 positions and 1,100 applications. And I ended up doing a very extensive interview process, and I ended up with 8 women. It was spectacular. I now do an online program we have 1,800 women a year from 42 countries.
Wow.
I mentor in what's called your Year of Miracles. And that all came out of me saying no.
Yeah.
So there's a theme here in my life. The first theme was, the first time, my first big aha was intention, attention, no tension. Go for what you want, put your attention on it, but let go. Let go. The second time, my big lesson was, the success isn't going to necessarily bring me happiness. Focus on what are the happiness habits, learn those. Then the third big thing was learn to say no. Again, create a vacuum. There's a saying, nature abhors a vacuum. When you say no to what's not right for you, you end up getting to say yes to what is right for you. Opportunities show up. So that's kind of been a big theme of my life journey.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I love the way you wove in that should right there, because that is something that I see over and over again. Well, for my own life in particular, but in the lives of superb women, that they have learned to let go of shoulds. So that I should do everything that comes in my path, and letting go of that's huge. Were there any other shoulds that you've let go of in your life?
Oh my goodness. I should say yes to everybody when they ask for help.
Oh,
That's a very big one. I cannot be all things to all people. Being a superb woman, to me, means being superb to myself,
absolutely.
as well as being superb to others.
Yep.
And I think that's the basis of it. I really have found that self-care, self-love is critical to my being of any use to other people. So learning to say no to others so I can say yes to myself. That's a big should that I've let go of.
Absolutely.
And probably, I'm going to say one more should.
Go ahead.
This is one that this is the one I'm in the process of right now. And it's, I should know absolutely what's next. We don't always know. Sometimes we just know what's the next closest thing right in front of us. Right. If I do that, it's trusting that the outcome will be there. I don't necessarily know the outcome for myself 10 years from now, but I know that when I follow my heart right now, it's going to bring me to exactly the best outcome.
So let me ask you about that, because that's something that have I'm assuming, and let me clarify that to make sure that I'm correct in this assumption. I bet you were not always like that. Were you the type of person that needed to know what was going on?
I did.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
absolutely needed to, kind of control life
Right.
and control the outcome of everything.
Right.
And what I've seen is never could I have created on my own will
Mm.
amazing things that have happened.
Right. So
My
how did you
will
learn?
wouldn't have created chicken soup. My will wouldn't have created The Secret. My
Right.
will wouldn't have created Year of Miracles or Happy for No Reason. It was the combination of me following my heart, my heart's intentions, and having faith that the universe was going to create the way. It's that whole idea of our job is to know the what, and it's the
Mhm.
universe's job to know the how. That doesn't mean we don't take action. Of course, I took a lot of action, but it was, it was shown to me how to make that happen.
That's beautiful. Are there any mantras, things you tell yourself when you get into that space where maybe you start to get a little anxious about it, to remind yourself just what you said, that the universe has this, it's not my job? Are there any favorite sayings that you have?
Um, that this is a friendly universe.
Oh.
Einstein said the most important question we can ask ourselves is this a friendly universe? And
Mm.
happy people always say yes, meaning the universe, even though things may not turn out the way you thought they were going to,
Uh-huh.
the universe is always on your side. The universe is
Mm.
always wanting the best for you. So I do that. I do simple ones, let go, let God. Um, I'm reading a wonderful book right now called The Surrender Experiment. I highly recommend it. It's by
Oh,
Michael
wow.
Singer.
Do
And
you
he
know who
also,
wrote that?
Michael Singer.
Okay.
Yep. He wrote The Untethered Soul as well.
Yes.
Um, the other thing that really helps me, really works for me, Janet, and I know is something that you believe in very much, is gratitude.
Yes.
What I found is there's that saying, what we appreciate appreciates.
Hmm. Hmm.
We get more of that. What we put our attention on is what we get more of in our life. And when I focus on being grateful for what the universe has brought me,
Mm.
I notice that I continue to get more. And that really goes hand in hand with faith and trust and letting go.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Absolutely.
it's a daily practice for me.
Mhm,
Gratitude is, people ask me what's the fast track to happiness. And I would say gratitude is the fast track.
yeah.
There are studies that show that if you write down 5 things a day that you're grateful for,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you just write down 5 things at the end of the day. Within a month, you will have raised your happiness set point or your happiness level.
Wow.
And I think it's just a huge piece of being a superb woman
Mm.
is gratitude.
Well, you're absolutely correct. That has been my finding as well, is that every superb woman that I have interviewed, that I have talked to, absolutely embraces an attitude of gratitude. It's essential in their being.
Yes.
And
You know,
another thing that's essential in their being is realizing that they can't do it by themselves. So, who's helped you on your
mm, everybody.
path?
So the universe is always on our side. And so the universe is always bringing us either people who are just absolutely there to help us along, or people who are there to go, okay, who show us, I don't want to do it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but the people who have been the most influential in my life, besides my family, I had a wonderful, supportive family. I put them into sort of 3 categories. One is mentors. I
Mhm.
I could not have done this without mentors. I so believe in mentors. My first mentor was a woman named Deborah Poneman back in the early 80s. She hired me as her secretary, and she had a company called Yes to Success Seminars, and it was my beginning in the seminar industry.
Oh, yes,
And
I remember those.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I was very soon. I was 21, I think, and I was very soon promoted to executive vice president. I was still the only employee of the company, so I still put up posters and answered the phone. But I was their executive vice president, and I really learned about the principles of success from her. I gave my first seminar in under her tutelage, and she was my mentor for a number of years. And now she's my business partner
Oh,
in your year of miracles. So we've come back together and we're now working together. It's fantastic. Jack Canfield was one of my mentors, and I wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books with him. So I totally believe in mentors.
mhm.
The second group of people who've been instrumental for me are what I call my support groups. Um, I've had women's mastermind groups since 1987.
Oh, wow.
I've had various ones where we meet either once a week or once a month, and we really are there to support each other in whatever we want to unfold in our lives.
Mhm,
So that's another great group. Another group of who has been important for me has been spiritual teachers.
mhm.
I've had beautiful spiritual teachers along the way, all kinds of exquisite spiritual teachers. And I actually, my most recent teacher, who I've been with for 13 years, is this beautiful Indian teacher named Swami Chandrasekharanand, and he left his body yesterday. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I would love to just dedicate my time together with you today to
Oh.
his great teachings for me. And so thank you with that. And so to me, all of those, and then of course, along friends and family are great, important people. But I think that it's important that you look in your life to who do you have as mentor, who do you have as a support group. If you don't currently have a support group, form one. I've got really simple ways to do that. And I've got a free guide that will show you how to form a support group as one of my 21 happiness habits. Find some spiritual teachers. It doesn't have to be, of any particular denomination, but just something that someone who inspires you to feel more connected to the universe, and
Mhm,
then your friends and family. So
mhm.
those are my who's in my life.
Excellent, excellent, beautiful. So, what's next for you, Marcy? I know you've always got something up your sleeve. So, what's next on your path?
Well, right now, my book, Inspirations for
Mhm.
Women, Color Your World Happy, it's just come out. It's already a bestseller. I'm having a blast.
Good.
One great way to let go in life, great meditation on a page, yoga with color is this new craze of coloring.
Yeah,
And I'm
love
totally
it.
into it. I absolutely love it.
Yep.
So you can go to Amazon and look at Inspirations for Women, and I'm having a blast with that. That's new. And then our Year of Miracles, we're growing and growing by leaps and bounds every year. So those are my two big focuses, finding even better ways to help people do what we call live in the miracle zone, which
Beautiful.
is ultimately, it's you can't create miracles in your life, but you can create the conditions for miracles to happen.
Mm.
And so that's really exciting for me. I believe that we're creating this sort of little uh, community, big community now. We've had over 5,000 people in
Wow.
our programs, and over 100,000 people have heard our Year of Miracle, our it's called Living in the Miracle Zone webinar. And this is so exciting to me because I think the way, Janet, that we're going to create a better world here is through each one of us living in this miracle zone. Each
Mm.
one of us living a joyful life. I know we're coming to the close, but I want to just share with you a quote that I love to share, because people often ask me, is this focus on being happy and living in the miracle zone, isn't it selfish? What about the world? Well,
Mm.
I believe this is the way that we all can really help contribute to a better world, is by us finding our own happiness. And so I share with you this Chinese proverb. It goes like this. It says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in this world. And my
Mm.
prayer and my wish for all of us is that we feel that light in our own souls. And through that, we all together help create peace on this planet of ours.
I am so grateful that you shared that. I remember you sharing that in our class, and I couldn't remember it, so now we have it here. So, Marcy, thank you so very much for your light that you put out there and
Oh,
for being my guest today on the show.
I am so delighted, and may I invite people to come find me somewhere?
Absolutely. We're going to have a slide with information, but tell us how they can reach you.
Oh, great. Well, if you want to find the 21 happiness habits, I have a whole workbook that I will give you for free on those 21 happiness habits. You can find that at happyfornoreason.com. It not only gives you the habits, it gives you a practice to do with each one of the habits. So it's a
Wonderful.
28-page free workbook you can find there. And if you want to hear this webinar on living in the miracle zone, you can go to youryearofmiracles.com. And that's also my gift to you. So I
Excellent.
welcome you to join me in all of that. And Janet, I think you are such a superb woman, and I just delight to know you and to get to be with you and just honor you for all that you're doing to share this with the world.
Thanks so much, Marcy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week. And next week, I'll have another superb woman as my guest. So until then, everyone, have a superb week. Take care.